So I think we're ready to start. Good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome everyone to our second panel of the day. And we're going to be discussing the topic that is very near and dear to my heart, which is leading innovation, why Ukraine. My name is Kris Kosyk. I'm VP of Innovation at SoftServe company. And today I'm being joined by this fabulous panel of four. And I will give them the opportunity to introduce themselves. Stefan, do you want to kick us off?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Christina.
My name is Stefan Küster. I head up our consulting activities at TechNation. You may have heard about TechNation. You certainly will have heard about Tech City UK. That's the slightly older name, just rebranded, which also tells a story. Tech City is all about a city. The city traditionally having been London and a wonderful start and scale-up tech ecosystem we've seen emerging here over the last 10 years. We've now taken a rebrand as the opportunity to expand our activities all across the country and are working with start and scale-up entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and everybody involved in an innovation ecosystem. I think that's the right word to bring it back to our panel discussion. Innovation for us very much is driven by startups, by young pioneering entrepreneurs, but we also need the conditions to scale them, to make them viable businesses. And last but not least, to bridge what we see as a gap, as a rift between existing corporations, public, private, state-owned, and young entrepreneurs, and we believe there's quite some merit in fostering collaboration between those. Coming a little bit closer to Ukraine and the UK. We are a fabulous spot in the world, actually the third largest ecosystem in the world, a fabulous spot to scale a business. So if there are entrepreneurs here in the audience, or friends, relationships.
Take notes.
It's a good place to come if you got a fantastic idea. You've built your startup, it's developing, but you can't scale. You don't have access to mentorship for scaling. You don't have access to the right level of venture capital, not only the money, but the expertise they bring, the connectedness of a global city such as London. It is a wonderful place to be here. And we don't want to steal the best and brightest Ukraine talent, not our intention at all, but we got wonderful examples, TransferWise being one of them, for a company founded in Estonia, scaled to 100 people, came to London, they scaled for global markets, today in 190 countries, employing 1,000 people. So scaling happened here, whilst development, IP, the intellectual property, knowledge still sits in Estonia. A wonderful collaboration, something we would love to see more. That's why we are here in the first place. Secondly, not a secret, there's an immense talent gap. We can't fill the roles of our tech start and scale-ups sufficiently. We are very much looking at interesting geographies abroad where talent pools are deep in order to have collaboration. So UK scale-up to go to Kiev.
I think Ukraine is a great match for the challenge that you're having in the company.
These are the things we're really interested in.
Alexandr, you want to jump in next?
Yes, my name is Alex Lutskiy. I'm the founder and CEO of Innovecs. Innovecs shortly is the global technology service company offering services basically globally. UK is one of our key markets where we actually present our brand today. Just quick background on myself. So I live in the US for 20 years. 10 years I actually was on the client side, worked with outsourcing company globally, including Ukraine. And the last 6 years I live in Ukraine and basically running the company of Innovecs.
Great. Andrew? I want to switch it up.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Pavliv. I am founder and CEO of Innovecs. So we are one of the leading software development service provider in Ukraine. The company is 15 years old. We start as a startup in the past, sell our product to a US company, and then we start service business after that and running it successfully for last, let's say, 12 years. And UK for us is half of our clients portfolio are from UK, and mostly we are focusing on telecom and fintech here. Now expanding also into agri-cultural companies as well with the digital transformation offering.
Excellent. Valery?
My name is Valery Krasovsky. I am CEO and co-founder of Sigma Software, the company of approximately around 1,000 consultants in Ukraine, and we have also global offices. We started in 2002, so we are 16 years on the market. Started as a Ukrainian company. It was 5 of us. I used to be C++ engineer on my background, so I know everything about software engineering from the very detailed point of view. So our main markets are US, Scandinavia, UK, Israel, because when it comes to the startups, I think that these parts of the world are most important and has big amount of startup companies.
Excellent. Valery, I know you wanted to share with us first some details about the innovation that you do in your company and maybe some details about the IT landscape in general that would help us in our discussion today. You want to kick it off?
Yeah, we could start with the video, but if you could switch to the slides, it would be better, because then I will start with showing the landscape.
Can we please switch to the slides first? Thank you.
Oh, perfect. So this is actually to give you some background of Ukrainian IT industry. This report has been created by one of the first innovation parks in Ukraine, Unit City, in cooperation with the Global Regional Investment Fund. So as you can see, we have a small market comparing to the UK, but still very big. It's $3.6 billion per year. And I would like to tell you also the story when we started to cooperate with our government back in 2010. It's very interesting because there were some changes in the tax code which our government wanted to introduce, and that was not really favorable for IT companies. So 4 or 5 competitors, including us, with the big companies in Ukraine, get together and approach the Vice Prime Minister in Ukraine, saying that these conditions are not favorable and won't give us a chance to develop an IT industry in a good way. And he said, okay, I hear you, but you have to help me with the strategic planning for developing IT education in Ukraine, which we did. And since then, I think the IT industry has grown more than 2 times. And we have like 15,000 students every year graduated from the universities. And a lot of global companies opened in offices in Ukraine. Okay, so then, oh, excellent, that works. So at the moment, we have a lot of IT events in Ukraine. Before that, it was really difficult to find one. But right now, every week, almost every day, you could find an event gathering project managers, software engineers, venture capitalists, everything. So it's a very good landscape right now. Unit City was one of the first IT parks, which is located in Kyiv, and right now probably you have heard about another global project which is started in Lviv with the help of IT cluster, with the investments like approximately $100 million from the Canadians, who are going to build a huge IT park in Lviv as well.
We're very excited about it.
Yeah. So the trends are, you can see that the first well-known startup in Ukraine which has been exited to the global company was Vyuvdul. It's not here, but it happened in 2012. It was a face recognition startup, and it was done based on the interesting technology developed by one of the Kyiv universities. And in cooperation with VC fund, that was developed into the successful company and was sold to Google at approximately around $30–40 million. And since then, as you can see, in 2017, we have approximately $260 million of investments into the IT startups in Ukraine. I think it's the last slide which I'm showing you. It also shows on the left-hand side, you can see the number of investment throughout the years into the startups. And as you can see, during the last year, the amount of investments has been significantly increased, but the number of transactions has been decreased. That means that the quality of investments has been increased and the number of companies decreased, but there are much more money that were invested. And on the right-hand side, you can see the development of IT industry in Ukraine, which has grown it's growing approximately 30% per year, which is really exciting. And currently, it reached approximately 4th place when it comes to the export potential of Ukraine. I think the agriculture in the 1st place, I think steel probably in the 2nd one.
Yes, I think our keynote speaker today covered.
Yeah, transportation in the 3rd, and IT is on the 4th.
Yes.
This is about the landscape, and then we could switch to the next question about innovation and switch to the video.
The innovation that you're doing in your company, correct?
Yeah, for us, I agree with my colleague Yaroslav Lubinets from SoftServe. I don't like the word outsourcing, even if we take a look at the description of the word. That's about sending the job to professionals. However, we like the word IT consulting because that's about what we are doing right now. Some of the big IT companies are approaching us asking, like, we had a case, then global company from Sweden approached our company and said, okay, we know a lot about augmented reality. It's a very interesting topic for us. We even created the department in our company and assigned the chief of the department, but we don't know what they have to do there. So please help us with your experience working on the global market of your 16 years on the market. Help us with telling us what to do. And the video which you will see right now, it's a very short 1-minute video, but it really shows one day of the family life of regular people when they meet the IT solutions which are developed in Ukraine by our company, Sigma Software.
So let's look into that future. Excellent. Andrei, so your thoughts. Can innovation be outsourced or done outside in? And what are the benefits of it?
Yeah, like a few months ago, I listened to some lecture from a guy from McKinsey, and it was very interesting research that 90% of world innovation happen on the workplace. And actually, what our companies create in Ukraine, it's a great environment for engineers and for talented people to do innovation. And then this innovation can be done for our clients. For example, here in UK, we work with fintech, as I mentioned, and a lot of product innovation, a lot of even kind of technology innovation into the product happen in our office for that companies. And so innovation can be done not, I would say, in-house. They can be done in a partner house. But then it have to be long-term partnership for both companies to work together, and open partnership and a trust to each other. And then this innovation happen, and then the synergy happen, and then it's kind of innovation cycle start to work between the partner and the client. So, and I would say when we built our company, we built it in that way. And that's it.
Alexandr, how is your innovation going?
I think I would look into innovation in two different streams. So I think one is definitely innovation in discovery, new technology, in technology, healthcare, scientists, right? I think the second innovation, I believe, is very important, especially in today's market, and in a service level company, is innovation in corporate culture, in the model management that the company creates. Because if we look at the market today, right, I don't think every single company competes on actual innovation, product or services. I think every single company competes on innovation, how you manage your product or service, right, and how you deliver that to the client. So that's also, I would call innovation today, because if we look at the market today, everyone's talking about the customer experience, right? I mean, you may have, like, for example, look at like any travel site, right? They might have great product, but not great reputation service, let's say. A lot of, like, me personally would say, I always deal with the companies that provide the best customer experience, and then I look at the product and service, right, in parallel. So that's why I said, like, for me, is two different streams. One is definitely innovation in technology, and I guess it also depends on scale of the company. I think for a large company, it's much easier and probably cheaper go outside, right, merge or buy a company with innovation. That's basically what happens right now. If you look at on Google, like Microsoft, Apple, and they're just buying.
Yeah.
It's much easier for them, right? Just get them in. Even it's like more expensive, but I think time to market is probably more important than anything else. For a smaller company, I think the question always, let's say that if you need it, when, right? Because you compete with a lot of different companies, and think if you need that, right, then you have maybe you have to go. I mean, you can still do it in-house. Could be more expensive or longer, or you just go outside, find a service company that can do it faster, cheaper. I think, as I said before, the most important piece today, not always cost factor, but time to market.
So, Stefan, you mentioned that you're working with a lot of startups. So I assume a lot of innovation happening in the discussions that you're having with these companies. So what do you think Ukraine brings to the global innovation table?
First of all, and I think my fellow panelists have made the point very clear, and I'm really excited to hear that. When looking at Ukraine, we are not looking at to use a blunt word, a body shop of call centers where no IP is created, but cheap wages are the attraction. I don't have that impression at all, not from the panel and not from what you read about Ukraine. And I think when I look at our startup, and more importantly, the scale-up entrepreneurs, the companies who are valued at $1 billion, who are creating employment, who reach into global markets, they want this entrepreneurial mindset, they want technical expertise at global standards. But most importantly, the entrepreneurial mindset. They want to work with an outsourcing partner who actually takes their innovation, their ideas forward and helps them make them real. And can pivot and can react flexibly. And that's very different to the traditional outsourcing. So I'm really IT consulting much better than the word outsourcing as such, because it has in the industry, in our industry, a bit of a mixed connotation, number one. Number two, we are always talking about IT, digital, fancy buzzwords. In the end, IT, digital, creative comes together to solve real-world problems. One of the hottest trends at the moment is agri-tech and new food. So the entire supply chain from farm to plate. And again, looking at one of the traditional strengths of Ukraine, it would be fantastic to pilot maybe a Technation mission, a corporate collaboration program in Ukraine to bring good ideas, high-tech ideas, into a very traditional sector and make it an exportable solution. When you look all around the world, agri-tech is one of these sectors, I believe, from what I know, is still untapped and ripe for disruption, to use that buzzword.
Right.
And you're in a fantastic spot. It's just one example, don't get me wrong, it's not the only one, but it's a very exciting one where Ukraine could stand out and say, we are a large agricultural country, and we are using AI, we are using geospatial information, whatever it is, to really bring the industry to a new level. That would be exportable. And I think that's really hugely interesting.
I totally agree with you. And when we talk about innovation, and even during this panel and during the sessions before us, it is a widely used term. Like, people are referring to innovation, talking about pretty much anything. And so I'm interested, when you're working with your customers or you're brainstorming on strategic sessions internally or in your organizations, how do you think, what is the best way to approach innovation today? Should we go from tech trends and buzzwords like blockchain, AI, robotics, or should we go from the industry point of view, customer experience, agriculture, otherwise? So, Valery, you showed us a very fascinating video that has combined those concepts. How do you approach in your organization and with your customers this challenge?
Thank you for your kind words. Yeah, actually, we work with the three, I think, main type of the customers. So big enterprise companies who are in the way of digitalization of their businesses right now, product houses, and the startups. And for us, the innovation is going from two angles, obviously. So this comes from the customer experience, from the business. And this is about the requirements that our customers has, especially in enterprise segment, because they are working in this business field for many, many years. They want what they know what they want to change there. And second, from the perspective of the technologies development. So in our company, we have R&D center. I think all of my colleagues also has it. I think it's very important for us because we give the possibility for the young talents to work on new things and also try to develop the ideas which we could then brainstorm and pilot for our customers. We have at least 2 successful cases when the product which we have piloted in our R&D labs then appeared to be the real project with our customers. So for us, it's 2 things, obviously. So requirements from the business and the new technologies, and we are trying to combine them.
Alexandr, and when you're working with your customers, how do you propose them to source their ideas? How to approach it?
I think the first thing, as my colleague said, yeah, we definitely need to understand what they're looking for, because today a lot of clients coming, right, with those like sexy keywords, right? Yes. Blockchain, can we use blockchain? We start to analyze, let's say, I mean, do you really need to use the blockchain? Because yes. Blockchain, it's a good keyword, but doesn't mean you have to use it, right? But we also encourage them, let's say, especially for the like enterprise clients, let's say, to look at those disruptive technology to see if using blockchain or machine learning, let's say, that will help them to, again, get their product in a more cost-efficient way, but also get that product faster to the market. And that's kind of like on the technology side, because it's very important to understand what kind of technology they're actually looking for. Because if we go very deeply into complicated, right, we might get them to the market not anytime soon, right? That basically will kill their business. So I think the time to market, again, I think I would call that the sexy keyword today. Everything else behind that. And the second thing is, let's say, definitely customer experience, right? We want to make sure you understand what they have on their side, what kind of team they have on their side. So we want to make sure, let's say, we're not just going to go build what we have building for every single client. We want to build something that will be scalable for us to work as a partners, right? Again, get their product in a very quality and cost-effective way, but also get them to the market as fast as we can.
Andre, do you share that vision, or you have different insight?
Yeah, I can say how we do it in our company. I think every company, if it's successful, if it's on the market, do it right. It means, but I think it's a little bit different between the innovation you can do for startups and the innovation you can do for corporates. And the corporate innovation, it's not like a startup innovation. And the people who use the approach of a startup innovation to corporate usually fails. Right. What I see. So with the startup innovation is pretty easy. Like in most cases, our clients have a vision of a client experience if they are coming from the world of marketing. So then we help them with the technology innovation. Like we consult them in the technology innovation. If our clients are technology guys who create technology, we consult them with customer and market innovation. But there, I think in Ukraine, it's like we better in the technology consulting than in this market consulting when we work with startups. So good example about blockchain. So it was booming last 2 years, and we have a unit that work on that tasks, and we calculated the statistic. So about 90 startups come to us with the idea to do something with blockchain. And then from this 90, we only advise to use blockchain for maybe 8 of them, because other guys just wanted to use this buzzword blockchain and like be in the trend and try to raise money with ICO and stuff like that. So, but we try to be pragmatic in that thing and say you don't need this. As well, like in virtual reality, a lot of companies want to do virtual reality. They like say, okay, it's a booming, we want to do this, but then you have to really apply, you have to really think if it will be working. And actually with virtual reality, it's a lot of corporate innovation who want that. They want to scale this then in the company for like education purposes, for example, and stuff like that. So then we kind of, even when we see that technologically it's possible to do, then we understand that, like, but how you will implement that in your corporation, because the result that customer want is actually not the nice one-time show that will show you how how you can see something from the helmet, but really when all of your company is using that in everyday operation. And this is the result that we're targeting, and then we consult the customer and say, okay, we can do nice show for you, but I mean, on implementation, probably you need to wait for 1-2 years. The technology will mature, and then we will be a good partner for you to make it really working in your production environment. So it's and it's a lot of like different ways we do this innovation.
So you touched a very interesting point. If we simplify the innovation process, how does innovation happen? So you go from ideation to building some POC, figure out if it works, then if it works, go to development and launching. So from your experience, and I would like to ask the whole panel, where do you think Ukrainian IT is the strongest? Is there a specific point, or strong in overall life cycle? So, Stefan, maybe you start.
Maybe just, forgive me, but just going back to our previous discussion for 1 second, because I think it's really interesting. We are not looking at buzzwords that much. It's almost like a hammer looking for a nail to solve a problem. So blockchain, the hammer to solve all nails. That's not what we do. Two exceptions apply. The one is AI and machine learning. The second one is cybersecurity, because we strongly believe there's an industry emerging, a technology emerging, even a regulatory environment that's required to make it work. Think about AI and ethics, the entire debate. We need to get that right. In the end, AI, cybersecurity will underpin every technology, every business, and every sector. So that's why we are looking a little bit for the hammer and supporting the hammer, looking for the nail, to stay with the example. More importantly, we are thinking very much outside in. And thinking really in collaboration. We are moving away from this model of it's only a startup, a scale-up, or a corporate who's going to serve a market. We are trying to bring together very different players around problems that have two characteristics. Large economic opportunity. They really create money if they work at a global scale or European scale. Secondly, they move something in society. Let me give you an example. Well-being is a very good example. We want to create collaboration between existing organizations, including Ukrainian IT consultants, everybody else who can contribute, startups, R&D facilities, large corporations, around the notion of turning somebody from a patient who is ill to somebody who is a consumer over the lifetime, cradle to grave. Doesn't get ill, we avoid chronic disease, we take cost out of the healthcare system. And we come up with the notion of not treat illness, but well-being, and really build these innovation alliances. There might be a Google, there might be a university hospital, there might be a health insurer, and there might be lots of startups with tech ideas that are coming to the table. So outside in is more our play these days and our thinking, and we believe we are in a good position to do that.
Which creates this perfect storm of the innovation when you have a lot of players coming in.
It does. And we value the expertise, the resource, the expertise, the technical, the regulatory expertise that a large corporate actually can bring to the table. It's not only sexy startups.
Smart people are smart everywhere.
They bring great ideas, they're very agile, we can trial very quickly, but there's a role to be played for the others as well. It's not black and white anymore, and that's something I find hugely interesting and encouraging.
Very interesting insight. So going back to the life cycle, where do you think Ukrainian IT is the strongest right now?
A bit hard for me to answer not knowing the Ukrainian environment on the ground, and that's a shame, and I promise to change that.
You should.
Certainly, from our perspective at the moment, ideation very much happens here. User experience is a very good example. You can test very quickly. I'm sitting in Shoreditch here around the corner. You can test young ideas and new ideas very, very quickly. That's not a problem. Scaling them from a monetary and a market perspective, but also from a technology perspective, that's where it gets interesting, particularly the technology perspective. To your point, I think we are incredibly good at user experience. We are really good at marketing. But we can't fill the backbone of technology that's required. And for somebody to advise, that's the right way, not just to provide programmers and software architects, but to be able to advise for your minimal viable product, you should look at blockchain or you shouldn't. And you should use something else in order to achieve your goal. I think that's where Ukraine at the moment would fit in very well. However, having said that, not being familiar enough with Ukraine on the ground.
Got it.
There might be much more.
Got it. Alexandr, do you have more insights on that?
Yes, I think when I was a client, right, for outsourcing company, definitely I look at the engineering as one of the stronger points, right, in Ukraine. Because when it comes to, let's say, for example, POC, right, I think what we found difficult that time, things getting better right now, let's say that Ukraine is all about the quality. POC is not always about the quality. It's about get something done quickly, go in front of the investors, right, get in front of the market. And we struggle a lot because Ukrainian people could not do it without the quality. We said, forget about the quality, just do it fast, right? So, but now I think it's getting better, right? So I would say, let's say, definitely the engineering of the product, right? I would say the strongest skill, right, we have in Ukraine. Definitely POC right now is getting much better. We see right now in our company that we start to build that culture. We're talking about the startup companies, right? Culture that startup, I mean, requires quality, but there's different stages where the quality should get increased. So I would say POC and engineering definitely strongest. If you look at the product side, I mean, the product management, and maybe the user experience, the market side, I mean, those things are getting better, but definitely that's something we're with our clients, right? And we rely on them that they know what they do as far as they take that product and go to the market.
Thank you. Valery?
Yes, yeah, I agree. And what I would like to add is in Ukraine, we love to argue. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's tough, but I think in general it's good, especially when it comes to the new products. When you develop something new, it's better to use this mentality to speak, because we are not just following the kind of the requirements. We always, if we see something is not right, we know the better way. We always try to argue to make the better solution. To bring more innovation. So I think this is one very important thing that Ukrainian IT industry could bring to the UK market. The second one, I think it's the best time to invest into the startups in Ukraine. Take a look at the recent examples. There are a lot of great examples. One of the recent examples is GitHub, the company which was, it's hard to say that it's a Ukrainian company. However, one of the founders is a software engineer from Ukraine.
Yes.
These guys, they make an exceptionally great company with a valuation of $1 billion right now. And it has been started not so long ago. The Ring, with the Ukrainian office, which was acquired by Amazon for $1 billion. So I think, and the number of venture capitalists which are currently working in Ukraine, they are increasing constantly. We are working with a lot of VCs in America, in Scandinavia, in Israel, and they are all put much more attention to Ukraine right now. One of the reasons for that is that we have a so big boom in IT outsourcing or consulting industry, and Ukrainians, they are closer to real business problems in the world. So they start to understand much better the innovations, what kind of products are interested for consumers on the global market. And in many cases, they quit the company and start their own businesses. So I think it's a great time for VCs to invest as well. So,
totally agree with you. Andrei, share us how are the things going in NX? Where do you think you are the strongest in the life cycle of the innovation?
Where we are strongest, I think we are strong to having a skin in the game in our clients. So this is something that we are strong in, like to create a strong partnership, which help us to do the innovation on all the places where we can actually do that. When I don't know, when we are trusted to do that. So even sometimes about the business models and stuff like that. So if you build a multi-level connection with the customers, then sometimes even I can be the guy who consults the customer in their business model, like work with their founders, and we brainstorming, and we have a lot of chats outside the office as well about the future and stuff like that. So like this sharing of innovation happened from the company to the company, and I think our company is something that having skin in the game in innovation and having skin in the game in our customer verticals, we can really be this partner to help not only like to certainly like innovate in some, I don't know, design thinking, approach, ideation, just like formal thing, but more about the visionary thing of innovation and the movement of the market and stuff like that. So I don't know, I just would like to make it a little bit broader that like tools are nice, but just using of the tools sometimes doesn't really bring innovation. So like the visions are important, the experience of your engineers are important, the how can I say, broad vision of them as well also important. If they touched business, if they touched technology, if they touched different areas, they can be much more innovative working with the customers. So we try to encourage our engineers not to be only engineers, even when they are good engineers, but also look into different aspects and develop themselves to bring more innovation to our customers.
To see the innovation on the intersection of the tech and the industry and the trends.
Yes.
I totally agree with you on that. So we all agree that Ukraine is a very innovative country with a lot of talent and a lot of great ideas that love to argue and tell their mind. So thinking about last year, what is the most amazing innovation that you've seen happening maybe somewhere in Ukraine or in your organization specifically? Some really nice blockchain or robotics that was implemented in an interesting industry. I think our audience would love to hear that.
For me, hard to argue. The variety here is enormous. When you think from sector, from the majority of startups, there are about 200,000 startups in the country. In total, you can imagine the collisions between creative tech and business ideas.
Right.
And I wouldn't do them justice by naming just one or two. One I find fascinating, though, let's point it out, is Darktrace, a cybersecurity firm built on AI, machine learning. You can see the valuations that back up my statement here a little bit. It's a very good example. Also an interesting example for something that may or may not resonate with Ukraine. It's important for us. It's a company that has not been founded in London and not been scaled in London. So all of a sudden something is happening outside the big cluster in the country, where we want to encourage startup entrepreneurship and job creation. Darktrace comes out of Cambridge. It's a very good example. We are seeing fantastic robotics in Bristol all of a sudden. Or not all of a sudden, but a trend. And that's a very important trend to pick up. A trend that leads into, how shall we call that, tier 2 startup innovation clusters. Hugely talented, specialized, really interesting. What I'm trying to do here is argue a little bit the case for innovation, not only to happen in a capital city and the usual clusters, but also to have a bit of a mindset around where are there specializations in the country that could participate and help build
Very interesting.
that industry.
Any quick innovations that you want to share for the last year?
I don't think I would have like any kind of bright examples. I think we've done a lot of great projects or POC projects, right, with the blockchain, artificial intelligence, or virtual reality for different type of our clients.
Any specific industry?
Mainly gaming, supply chain, transportation. I think that's where I would say, I mean, if you touch the blockchain, for example, I think it definitely fits very well to the supply chain logistic area. If you touch it to virtual reality, it fits very well to the gaming stuff. So that's kind of on the technology side. But I think also from our side, when we touch the innovation, I think we also right now put a lot of efforts to build kind of more innovative corporate culture within company. And we even have like event called Innovated, right? That happens once a quarter when we bring basically not the entire company, but a lot of people who wants to participate. The idea, let's say, to bring any different type of innovation examples, and then we pick the one, and the job of the company to implement that within let's say next quarter. So we're trying to, I think for me,
Have you selected any first
and then
candidates?
and then we selected them, awarded for the person who actually brought that idea. And but I think for innovation, it's very important to say that it comes from people, right? I think a lot of times, let's say, limitation of innovation in a big company, that people don't have a lot of ability to speak up, right, and bring a lot of different ideas, because a lot of kind of top to bottom, a lot of the restriction, right, of what they can do, what they cannot. So I think in our company, we're trying to make it very flat, so anyone can participate in innovation of our company, bring a lot of different ideas. And sometimes we take these ideas, we implement with our company. Sometimes we take this idea, we bring them in front of clients. Sometimes we have cases, let's say, we actually create that as IP, right, and let people to participate in a joint venture of that particular innovation.
Excellent. Valery?
Yeah, I've been thinking about many successful cases when the startups we are working on together with our partners exited as multi-million companies. However, I think there are actually two products we've been working on. One, and both of them will be released later this fall, so I can't speak about them in details right now. But one of them is about the mixed reality space shooter. And there are not so many games like that on the market. And if you saw the latest presentation from Apple about their new products, they have already shown some of the games in this area, which looks like going to be a trend, which we have seen like 2 years ago. And another very important thing when it comes to, it's not probably about the innovation itself, but in general, how it's a combination of innovation and also how the Ukrainian IT companies could help the different companies in the world, is that being 16 years on the market, we started to see a lot of different intersection potentials for our customers. So we had helped some of our startups we are working with on the engineering part to connect them with some of the VCs we are working with. So we had helped some of our customers from Scandinavia to find the partners in the US on the new markets and sell their products. So I think it's really about the strategic IT consulting. This is the innovation which has happened in the IT companies in Ukraine, which were working on the simple websites in the 90s. So now we are, I think, the global players already in the world.
That is why we're here today, I
Right.
think. So, Andrew, any specific innovation that you want to pinpoint?
running the project in my mind, but I
Rolodex.
think, but I think like I would pick up two, one from a startup innovation and a product innovation. So it's also in the virtual realities and the space. So we start to work with founders who are not from tech space at all. They are football kind of managers for American football. And they launched a startup with the idea to create virtual reality trainer for American football. And for training, I think, quarterbacks, which is the most expensive thing on American football, because you have to have all the players really be on the field just to train the guy who throws the ball. And it started from an idea, and we really create the whole product. So the whole product looked like a room, maybe a little bit smaller like that, with these things, with these cameras with sensor cameras, and then player should wear a special suit,
To be
and
recognized?
then to have him digital, and then it's like a part of a football field. He put a helmet, and then he throw a ball, and actually the trainer make for him all the situations that is needed, and it's played on the field. So this product we create fully in our company, and we even have a like installation like that, and play with that a lot in the client.
As a quarterback during the lunchtime.
Yeah, and it's a combined innovation with the hardware and software, because we select everything. And now, and also what I can see is that like this industry is maturing, and now we're selecting more and more. So we start to also looking for startups who create the solutions that we can find for these guys. For example, gloves. Instead of to have a gloves that a player can see his hand in a virtual reality taking the ball and stuff like that. So, and we experimenting a lot with that. And yeah, we hope that Paul Allen will be the investor of that startup, because he owns his American football team. And we even I also put my skin in the game into that startup. So put a little bit angel investment into that as well. So this is very interesting story, and I mean, but it's a good innovation, because it's the same maybe gaming and virtual reality. And the second is from corporate innovation, where it was more about data, and it was for American company GoGo, which in-flight internet telecom provider. And then so the task was to it's a lot of data, how people use internet inside the flight, and how the antennas works, and how signals are coming to the flight and stuff like that. So you, with this data, you can really find a lot of insight for a client. But and we actually did it. We find a lot of insight how to significantly improve the services with the data science, and we just build that function for that client. So this is more about the corporate innovation. They're a little bit less fascinating, but they really help the client in the way to make their business better.
Very interesting cases. Thank you for sharing. So we have last 5 minutes of our panel discussion. As your parting words, I would like you to summarize maybe, because when we were talking about the innovation, and we were talking about it for the last hour, it's about the buzzwords and what's coming next, right? So I would like you to share your vision of the next 2 to 5 years in scope, kind of thinking about the things, the disruptive innovation not to miss, and disruptive paranoia to avoid. So maybe just like a quick sentence about that.
Well, disruptive innovation not to miss. I think we are a little bit in the world of buzzwords. It's the AI, machine learning.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects, but the application in sectors that truly matter. I spoke about agri-tech, touched upon it briefly, healthcare, mobility, smart city, somebody mentioned it early on, or in the previous panel. I think that's the really exciting part that we will see, that will make a huge difference from an economic perspective, but also in our day-to-day life. So that's an exciting opportunity, and we obviously want to develop as much as possible and also export it into the world, as Ukraine does. That's certainly an exciting one. Having the right regulatory frameworks, the right understanding around it, I think is important to avoid a backlash from society. We don't want to have disruptive innovation where then 50 million British people are very worried about their jobs going away or AI being used in order to spy on them or whatever the fantasies might be, to have a very open debate about the beneficial use of AI to make our lives more effective, more successful from an economic perspective, but also better.
Very
More
interesting
sustainable.
idea.
I think that's the most exciting one for us. As having said, avoiding also the downsides that disruptive technology has when you deploy it into a larger population.
Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe also, and that's a broader picture, we are working very hard as we can, on avoiding a digital divide between young people, highly educated, being part of the start and scale-up industry, and the rest of the country. That's not right. I think every society should have a movement, and we see that in many ecosystem clusters, some better, some less well developed. When you take society and the opportunities that tech and digital industries can bring, make them accessible to a broader part of the population.
Very interesting insight. Thank you. Alexandr.
I just quickly think from the technology side, either we want to solve this now or not, probably definitely the blockchain, machine learning, artificial intelligence, those kind of disruptive technology will be taking place in the market, right? And I will see that probably more and more as we go, right, for the next 2 to 3 years. That's on the technology side. The second side is definitely we will see a lot of innovative solution on actual operating service or the product, right? Because that's also very important today, because as we see again on the market today, there's a lot of products pretty much very similar, but the way the company operate them, right, and provide the services to their clients, that also will be the distinguish, right, of comparing the market as well.
Valery?
I would underline cybersecurity is a very important area for the next few years, or maybe 10 years, even more, because we have more and more IT systems in our day-to-day life. We have cameras at home, which we control through our mobiles. We have automated houses, cars, everything. So this is a big threat, I think, for all the people in the world. And we put a lot of attention in our company into cybersecurity questions. We provide the services to our customers, auditing their systems, etc. So I think that would be a very, very important area for everyone.
I totally agree with you, and I think the latest news from the IT world would agree with you as well. So, Andrei, your ideas about the things to focus on and the paranoias to avoid.
Yeah, I would avoid paranoias about the AI will. How can I say? Like yes, that the AI will work instead of software developers and engineers. Right. It's. I think it's still a good way to go for companies where people will do innovation and engineering and step by step. Like we will have better tools to do that. Because it's a lot of paranoia that it will happen really, really quickly, and then everybody will lose a job. But about innovation, I really would not touch a tech word in this case, because I think in tech world, yeah, we are pretty confident in innovation we are doing, and we have a lot of engineers to really do that. But I think what we really need, it's more as a food innovation, like how to create new meat, for example, yes. Because meat is the biggest producer of the gases that kills the planet and stuff like that.
Climate change.
So this innovation that, for example, like happening now more in California, but yes. This is a thing, and biotech innovation like related for understanding of our body, for understanding of our bioma and stuff like that. So a lot of this singularity, university directions of innovations that they make them more popular, I would say, yeah, we need to maybe think about that future more than about really engineering and technology. How we as IT will be able to speed up that other innovation, how our companies can really partner with these companies to make the other bio and other innovation more quicker, like, or to bring our experience in building quick engineering cycles to those companies. So this
help to make the world a better place.
Yes, yes.
So before we close our session, do we have any questions from the audience? Oh, lovely. Do we need a microphone for that? Yes? So we have 2 questions here.
Hi everyone. I would like to make to ask a question and make a suggestion / statement, if I may. I will be very, very brief. So first observation is I absolutely agree about Ukraine being amazing in IT space, and I can comment it as corporate financier. Unlike other industries which are not as greatly promoted in London, I think Ukraine is known for IT in a very good way. Like sometimes people just catch me away from Ukraine. Where, guys, do you take all these ideas in IT? That's the first comment I hear, like, which is amazing. So second point is about security. I absolutely echo comment of Sigma Software person. So, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it's a huge demand in it. If we think about, like, I live in London, right? So TalkTalk, British Airways, that's where I got practical use of blockchain language when people stole my financial data and asked me how much I should pay for them not to chase me in blockchain. So I thought, well, interesting application anyway. I thought it would be better experience, but it exists. That's the point. Is so blockchain can be used for different purposes by different people, and that's why we need security, we need protection, because technology can create a lot of opportunities for everyone, for people with good intentions and for people with bad intentions. We think about interference in elections. Globally, I'm not going to call names, but I think it's a problem global in general, so I think huge room for creating innovative solutions, how to avoid hacking at the government level. So we are moving from business industry to governments, to countries, to state level. Technology has a huge role to play. How they call it, it's an oil of the past. So oil was dominating power in the past. Technology becomes dominating power of the future. And I think it comes with a lot of requests from you, a lot of commitment required, a lot of money needed to address challenges. So in terms of fintech and agri-tech, that's why I find parallel. I think Ukraine is amazing in terms of agri-tech potential. It's like London in fintech, which outtook Silicon Valley for a very basic reason, because New York is far from California, right? So you have financial center in US and California, you have tech center in Silicon Valley. London has both financial center and IT center. Ukraine Echo, we are global, I think, agri-center, capital. We're global agri-capital. If we combine it with our IT, I think huge room. So that's my suggestion, to pay more and more attention to two things: developing agri-tech and security that can be utilized at national level, not only at industry level. So sorry, question gone. I apologize, I think my question turned into request.
Well, that was a very interesting insight.
So I apologize.
Thank you for that.
Too much time.
I think we had another question back there.
Thanks very much, panel. Question for Stephen, or Stefan, sorry, is it Stefan? Apologies. Talking about innovation in terms of technology and evolution of technology is one thing. Dimensionally, maybe within the ecosystems that you're seeing and are developing, are you seeing innovation in a sense of cooperation between public sector, private sector, in the spirit of trying to address perhaps digital divide, might be one thing, where you might see a social agenda and a commercial agenda coming together? Just a general question.
I mean, very practical example. We've been running last summer a program called FinTech for Good, or FinTech for All, sorry, which is about financial inclusion. And you may not think about the UK as a market where people are lacking access to financial institutions and banking, but there is a part of society which struggles in even getting a bank account. Without a bank account, there's no formal employment in this country, more or less. So we've used technology and a little bit of business model thinking, number one. Number two, the collaboration between a number of ideas coming out of fintech startups and large players in industry in order to provide a new way of service to manage your finance, to have access to a bank account of sorts. I think that's a commercial proposition for those participating. This is not CSR only, it's not marketing or doing good only, this is a commercial opportunity, but it is also helping to get back a part of society into the formal banking environment and employment environment. A very small example. I think the bigger picture is, and I find it hugely exciting to see more collaboration, the willingness, a culture of opening up corporates in order to engage with the start and scale up ecosystem. For whatever that might be. Some just do it for commercial purposes, develop a new product line. Fine, absolutely fine. That's a good thing to do. Others have these bigger ambitions which we are trying to foster. I mentioned the example of well-being. Collaborate on something that's commercially hugely ambitious and interesting, but also really solves problems we all are engaged with. Education, from my perspective, a sector that already has come a long way, and we are working on entrepreneurial education, content and access to entrepreneurial content for everybody. But again, education, to open up education even more, use technology to make it more accessible for everybody in the UK, around the planet in the end, is certainly a worthwhile undertaking. So the collaboration and bridging this gap between we are the large corporate, we got an internal R&D center, and we are not talking to anybody, and the start and scale up industry, which sometimes can come across as a little bit, we are so cool, we are so fast, we are so agile, we don't need you old guys. Something has changed. Deep tech has helped change that game, and I think there's more to come, and that's to the benefit of all participants.
So many interesting opportunities to potentially leverage Ukrainian IT.
I hope we are coining a term, we call it Technation missions, to express a little bit. This is not your 1% productivity improvement. This is something that's wider, that will make an impact on society. That's the kind of mission idea behind it. Maybe let's report back next year how well it goes, and what are the KPIs from an economic, but also from a non-economic KPI perspective.
Looking forward to hearing about it in a year. So thank you so much for doing all the travel and sharing this time here with me today. I think we have a break now for the coffee outside. Thank you all, and see you after the break.
On behalf of the organizer, British Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, I would mention that for those of you, we hope to inspire some business out of this